We got 9 films in the Nightmare on Elm Street franchise, which includes sequels, a remake, and even a crossover, so let's rank them. Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Hope you're having a good one today. I'm the Movie Ranker, and today I'm diving into the Nightmare on Elm Street franchise. I'm going to be ranking all 9 films from worst to best. We got some great films in here, but we also got some pretty low tier horror movies as well. And yeah, there's something here for everyone, I think. We even get a crossover movie with Jason Voorhees, a versus movie. So just make sure you like and subscribe if you enjoy content like this, and let's get into the ranking. So kicking things off in last place, at number 9, we have Freddys Dead. No secret here, this is a terrible movie. It's way too over the top and silly. It's almost like a Looney Tunes cartoon at times. Freddy Krueger is not scary at all, and the characters are all mediocre at best. Our main lead, Maggie, played by Lisa Zane, who turns out to be Freddy's daughter. I think she's a terrible actress, one of the worst in the franchise in my opinion. I just do not care for her acting at all. And this whole story is kind of a mess too. We follow John Doe for the longest time, and it really doesn't really go anywhere with his character. Not anywhere satisfying anyway. We get some really terrible kills here, especially the Nintendo Power Glove kill. I thought that was ridiculous. The guy bouncing around the room. We got terrible effects in here with like the little worms and stuff, and all the 3D stuff at the end. It's all terrible and outdated. I do like the little cameos we get from like Tom Arnold, Roseanne, Alice Cooper. Pretty cool stuff there. Even Johnny Depp appears on a little cameo on the TV for a drug commercial. But yeah, this movie is not good at all. Even Freddy himself, his makeup looks cheap. Like I said, he's way too silly, and the way they kill him too is really pathetic, just using his own glove on him. And yeah, this is a terrible movie and easily the worst in the franchise. Up next at number 8, we got Nightmare on Elm Street 5, The Dream Child. This movie has an interesting concept, like Freddy using Alice's unborn baby to get into people's dreams again and stuff, and messing with Alice, who is played by Lisa Wilcox. And I really do enjoy the Lisa Wilcox. She's great in part 4 as well. And it's nice to see her return, because all the other characters kind of are super forgettable in here. And again, new faces that we've never seen before, and we're expected to care for them when they die. No, it's not going to happen. Freddy, again, is a bit too silly for me. Not as bad as Freddy's Dead, but he's getting there. It's pretty damn close. But yeah, some of the set designs are still really cool in here. The nightmare scenes. We get one really cool kill with Dan on the motorbike, where he's almost turned into a Mad Max character. That's really cool. I love the effects on that. But the other 2 kills are pretty lousy. The kill with the comic book, turning the kid into like an animated comic book character, I think is kind of clever. But in reality, when we see it, it just doesn't look good. It'd be better suited for like an animated series if a Nightmare on Elm Street ever tried to do that. But in a live action movie, it just doesn't work. And yeah, it has interesting ideas in this movie, but the execution is way off. And the whole ending, how they defeat Freddy with Jacob like puking or spitting or something on basically pukes out the souls onto Freddy, and it kills him. And it's just like, what? This is so weird. And yeah, just not a very good ending to a mixed film. Next up at number 7, we got A Nightmare on Elm Street, the remake from 2010, the Platinum Dooms production. I like this one a bit better than what I remembered on this rewatch. I thought this was going to be even lower on my list, to be honest. But you know what? It does have its moments. I really do like the intro. That's sweet, when in the diner where the guy cuts his throat. I'm like, oof. But then the movie kind of fumbles after that. I think the main lead, Nancy, is miscasted. Who is it? Rooney Mara. Good actress, but she just wasn't casted right for this role, and just the character herself wasn't written very well. She's like antisocial and stuff, and it's just hard. She's not final girl material, is what I'm trying to say. That's hard to root for. Jackie Earl Haley as Freddy did his best. I mean, he was damned if he did. He was damned if he didn't. If he went the uh, Robert Englund route, people would have said he's just copying him. And if he tries something different like he did, people are going to hate that as well. So, like I said, he was stuck in a tight place, but he did the best he could. I just don't really care for his look. I know they were going for a more realistic burn look, but when they add in that little bit of CGI and stuff, it kind of takes me out of it. And this whole movie has terrible, terrible CGI for a 2010 film. Like, there's scenes that they redo from the original, like for instance when he's like coming through the wallpaper. In the original, that looks great, and this is done with like spandex or something, like really cheap and easy, but it looks great. In this new film, they go CGI, and it looks like a cartoon coming out of the wall. And there's several times in this movie that the CGI takes me out of it. The CGI blood, everything. They should have went practical. And I think the rest of our characters are good enough. I think Katie Cassidy's really good in this, playing Chris. I think she should have been our Nancy, because they kind of set the movie up like as if we're going to maybe follow her, but then in the second act we switch over to focus mainly on Nancy and the Quentin character. One thing I do really appreciate though is that it's very dark. It's a bit scary. I mean, compared to the last so many movies that we got, it's probably the scariest since like part 1 or 2, which is a bonus. I mean, we don't want the silliness in these type of movies. They're fun in the 80s, but nowadays we got to go more serious. And yeah, because the campy stuff just wasn't working in the end. They were going too far. So I do appreciate that this one was a bit more grounded for a supernatural slasher movie, as much as you could be. And it's a much more darker. But I do think they crossed the line with coming right out and making Freddy like doing like a pedophilia and stuff like that, you know, like touching the kids. It was always implied kind of before, but it was very subtle. Like we always kind of knew in the older movies, but in this one, they come right out and they bash you over the head with it. And I feel like that should have just been brought back a little bit and focus more on him being a child killer, not a child toucher. But I think the whole mystery surrounding his character, like throughout the film, you're not really sure if he did it or not. I think that works really well because you're not sure if you should root for him or not. You don't know if he's a victim or, you know, the bad guy. So I thought that was pretty brilliant. But all in all, it's just a mediocre film in the end of the day. It's still completely watchable, and I give it a pass. But it's nowhere near the original. Coming in at number 6, we got A Nightmare on Elm Street 4, The Dream Master. Now this one is very flawed, but I find it entertaining, and it's still a fun watch. It's like the most MTV out of all these movies. Unfortunately, this is where we start to see Freddy kind of going that goofy route, but it's still not done to an extreme. I feel like it's still okay enough in this flick, and I can still watch it and have a good time despite its major flaws. One of them being killing off our surviving characters from the first film, and killing them off fairly quickly. Secondly, the way they brought back Freddy, a dog pissing like flames, bringing him back makes completely no sense, and I don't know what they were thinking with that. They really couldn't come up with a good way of resurrecting him. And lastly, of course, Kristen being recasted as with Tuesday Night. Patricia Arquette didn't return, and yeah, it's unfortunate. I think Tuesday Night does an okay job, but she just could not capture the essence that Christian had in part 3. I feel. Other than that, I feel like we get some fun kills here, some cool nightmare sequences. I really like the scene where the girl's lifting weights and her arms crack and she ends up turning into a cockroach, eventually dying by getting squished in one of those sticky boxes. I think that was a brilliant, brilliant scene. And yeah, there's a whole lot of fun in here. We get that one stupid little kill with the guy doing kung fu and Freddy's invisible. That's dumb, but everything else is pretty good. And Lisa Wilcox does step it up to replace our final girl in here, and I think she does a great job as Alice. And she has a really cool fight scene at the end against Freddy. And I love the effects of all the hands and the souls coming out of Freddy and just tearing him apart. That is awesome. And Robert Englund seems like he was having a blast in this movie. And I also really like the scene where Dan's waiting in the vehicle and Alice keeps running to it and saying, "We have to go." And it just keeps repeating. It's like almost Groundhog Day. I think that's clever. We never really seen anything like that in this franchise before. So that was cool. And it was directed by Rennie Harlin, guys. This guy did Cliffhanger, Die Hard 2, Deep Blue Sea, one of my favorites. So he's a competent director. He can direct. It's just, it's kind of hard to follow up Dream Warriors, I guess. Next, at number 5, we got Freddy vs. Jason. Now, looking back on this film, it didn't age that well, and it's maybe not as great as it used to be. Like, I remember when this came out, I loved it. Absolutely loved it. I thought it was so fun. I thought it was cool. It's basically like watching a huge like WWE wrestling match, like the heavyweight championship title, right? And it's like, this is the Supermania or whatever. Everybody got to watch it. To get your tickets in that pay-per-view. That's what I was trying to think of. That's what this feels like a big matchup like that. And we do kind of get that in the last act, and it's so awesome. And we do get a killer soundtrack in here as well. But overall, this feels like a way more of a Nightmare on Elm Street movie than a Friday the 13th movie. I feel like they didn't balance that out really well. But Freddy's handled really well. We get Robert Englund returning, and he kills it. I love the makeup effects. I love his dialogue. Everything's great, except he lacks in the kill department, which is unfortunate. I think he might only get one in this whole movie. Jason steals them all on him. My boy Jason. But I say my boy Jason, but I feel like it's not really him in this movie. We get Ken Kersinger, I think his name is, in here playing Jason, and he just wasn't a good choice. He moves like Frankenstein. I hate his movements. He's so slow, and it's like he brings no emotion to the character. I know this is a zombie version of Jason, but still, like, he doesn't give enough to the role. He feels like he's sleeping. And I don't like the makeup effects. He looks like a black troll with his pointy ears and his black head and everything. I hate it. He has this huge jacket and a long ass sword. Nothing makes sense, but he gets some pretty cool kills. I like the whole bed folding in half. That is awesome. And I don't mind that he's afraid of water because, guys, it's in his nightmare. It makes sense. He's obviously not afraid of water when he's not in his nightmares. You see him go in the water in this movie. And a lot of people are like, that doesn't make sense. Jason's not afraid of water. But it's in his head. It's a nightmare. Does have trauma from being a kid and that happening, right? So to me, that part makes sense. But one major problem I do have with the film is Monica Keena playing Lori, the main lead in here, the final girl. I think she is not very good at all. Very bad actress. Pretty much as bad as the girl in Freddys Dead. And yeah, the rest of the cast, they're all this early 2000s slasher type characters that we've seen 1,000 times before after Scream. They're in that vein. Of course, I love Catherine Isabel, and Kelly Rowland does a good enough job for being a girl from Destiny's Child. But yeah, no character really sticks out as great in here. And the film's not great either. But I have a lot of nostalgia for it, and I still have fun when I put it on. And that last act, like I said, is so entertaining like a wrestling match. So that's why it sits this high in my ranking. Now, reaching our top 4, these top 4 are great films from now on, okay? And at number 4, we got New Nightmare. Wes Craven's New Nightmare. He really took what Freddys Dead did, which pretty much buried the franchise, and he resurrected it. He brought it back to life and showed that we can still make great movies in this franchise. It's not dead yet. And it was a really unique take on the franchise, on the story, making it very meta and self-aware, which is funny because he went on to do Scream right after this. And I feel like this is kind of like the prototype to that. And it's just so clever having the characters, or the actors play themselves. Like Heather Langenkamp is playing Heather Langenkamp. I think that's so clever. And I think she's great in this. Of course, you got people like Wes Craven and Rob Shea that aren't the best actors. They're not actors. So, they have a little bit of problems in here, but it's still cool to see them. And the opportunity they had to do this, it was just awesome. And we get Miko Hughes as the kid in here, Dylan. I think that he's one of the best kid actors. We had him in Pet Sematary as Gage. And, he was in so many things like the cop movie with Arnold. the elementary cop. I'm brain farting. Kindergarten Cop. I don't know why I couldn't think of that. I love that movie. But yeah, he's in a few movies here and there, and he's always great. And I think this is probably his best, to be honest. And one of the best things about this is Freddy Krueger, because he is cynical. He's evil. He is one of the most evil versions of the character that we've seen thus far. He is like an evil entity who's using the form of Freddy to kill off everybody in reality, and which is just genius. The only thing I find his whole glove, how it's part of his hand, I find it looks really cheap. I don't know, it looks like plasticky to me. That always stuck out. But the character himself is pretty badass and scary again. He lacks in the kills department. He only gets 2, and this is like, I'm pretty sure, the longest movie in the franchise at 2 hours long. Pretty much 2 hours. And he only gets 2 kills, so it feels really kind of stretched out. It's kind of a slow burn. There's a lot of drama in there, but the nightmare scenes are really cool. And while this is a very clever film, a very good film with great acting, great story, I just feel like it's not one I rewatch all that often. It's because of its length and kind of a slow burn. So I'm more bound to put on my top 3 before I jump to this one at number 4. But it's still a great film nonetheless, and it's definitely worth checking out. Coming in at number 3, we got A Nightmare on Elm Street 2, Freddys Revenge, known as one of the more gayer horror movies ever made. Interesting enough. Pretty good slasher movie, to be honest. Mark Patton is our lead in here, and I think he does a phenomenal job. This movie has a little bit more layers to it, I feel, than the other ones. It may break some rules that the first movie set forth with how Freddy works with the dreams and that. It's not really about that. This is more of a possession movie, and he's like possessing this Jesse character who is very confused with his relationship, and it's like a coming of age movie. So there's a lot here to unpack. We got him dealing with parents being like against him, thinking he's on drugs or just thinking he's going crazy. You know, he has no one understanding what's going on with his body. We get another evil version of Freddy who's not joking around at all. I feel like this is the least amount of joking Robert Englund does, maybe aside from New Nightmare. Like, both of them are kind of on par for being probably the most evil of the Freddys. And you gotta love the whole scene where he's splitting out of Jesse's body. That is so cool, that transformation scene. He's like cracking and coming out of his chest. Oh my god, it's one of the best scenes in the entire franchise, if I'm being honest. And yeah, the kills are all pretty good in this. You got that weird scene where Freddy's going around like the party, killing off everybody, which is kind of weird. You never see him do stuff like that. But like I said, this movie's different. It's bizarre. Like, it's so hot that the birds are catching fire and blowing up. And I feel like it being so bizarre and strange kind of adds to the nightmarish of the movie. It kind of adds to the atmosphere, you know? Like, you're never really sure what's really reality at times. And over the years, this movie has really grown on me. Like, I was always really critical with it on how it changed the rules. Like I said, Freddy doesn't use the nightmares like he used to before to try to terrorize the kids of Elm Street. But its bizarreness, once you embrace how wacky it is and everything, it kind of adds to its charm. And like I said, it just feels like a dream, this whole entire movie. Reaching our top 2, we got A Nightmare on Elm Street 3, Dream Warriors. What a kick-ass movie, man. Probably the most rewatchable out of all these. It's just a fun time from start to finish. We get amazing characters. Like, all these kids in the institution feel natural. They feel like someone you could know in real life. We got Patricia Arquette as Kristen, who completely nails it. I love her character. And I also love like Kincaid, Joey, Taryn. They're all awesome. And you really care for them and you root for every character to survive. And what I really like about this one is that Freddy uses their weaknesses against them. Like, for instance, one girl has like a drug addiction, so he uses that against her in his dreams. Like, hauls out these needles with heroin in them and that. I thought that was really clever. The kid who makes puppets gets friggin' strung out like a puppet with his like veins or arteries or whatever, and it's one of the coolest kills in the entire franchise. It looks really gnarly with the special effects, and like I said, you just care for all these kids, so the kills really hit harder, I feel. We also get Nancy returning here, which is really cool to see her from the first movie coming over to this one, really doing her research in between the two films and trying to help these kids out in any way she can with the hypnosil and everything. You can tell she really cares for these characters. And she eventually ends up dying, Freddy ends up getting her, but I feel like she's done enough in the movie, and it was closer to the end that it was okay to kill off Nancy at this point. And Freddy has the perfect balance in this film of comedy and being sinister, the evil and goofy. I feel like he found the perfect balance. After this, they always cross the line over a little bit too much in the silly side of things. But this one, he nails it. We get great one-liners in here like, welcome to prime time, bitch. Some great, amazing kills, great characters, great set designs. Love all the nightmare scenes, and the lighting and everything is really cool. Obviously, we get the badass song Dream Warriors by Dawkins. The song is the whole package. My only gripe I have with this movie, and possibly the reason why it's not in first place, is the whole ending. How we get like a stop motion skeleton of Freddy fighting the people in the junkyard, the John Saxon's character and the other guy. I feel like that, it just feels so out of place, like having Freddy in the dream world and then coming to the real world like that. It just doesn't feel right to me. Everything else is so perfect, but that part always stuck out to me as wrong. But it's only a small slither of screen time in this entire film, and the rest is so badass and just cool. But easily coming in the first place is A Nightmare on Elm Street from 1984, one of my favorite horror movies of all time, one of my favorite 80s movies. It is just so good. We get Heather Langenkamp as Nancy, our final girl, and I feel like she possibly is my favorite final girl. She's up there with like Ripley and Sarah Connor and all them. I think she is my favorite. She's just so smart, so innocent. She has that natural beauty to her, not like these models and that they put in a lot of these horror movies. I feel like she looks naturally stunning, and I just love how she tries to beat Freddy, staying awake with the coffee and everything, and eventually resorting to like Home Alone traps. And it's just so freaking cool to see her battle him in the end. All the other characters are great in here as well, including Johnny Depp as Glenn, her boyfriend, who gets a gnarly death scene going through the bed and the blood squirting out. And I just gotta say, the kills in here are fantastic. You got that kill. You got my favorite kill of all, Tina getting like dragged up the wall. Oh my god, they used like a spinning room to make that kill, and it looks so friggin' good. So good that they tried recreating it 2 other times. One in New Nightmare, which was kind of cool, but seeing Freddy do it, it wasn't the same. And in the remake, I thought that was just lame. They completely botched that kill. But in this one, it's the original and they do it right. All practical, and it looks so friggin' good with the blood and everything. Very bloody kill. Very bloody movie, actually. And again, this is one of the better versions of Freddy, where he has a few one-liners and little jokes here and there, but for the most part, he's pretty damn evil and scary. Like, this is the scariest version of the character for me, because I grew up with this film, and it always got to me. It's a slasher that you can't run away from. It's not like Jason or Michael. He's in your dreams, and everybody has to sleep sometime. And I thought that's one of the best concepts for a slasher movie I've ever heard of. So unique. Making that supernatural twist on things, I think, was just brilliant. Wes Craven's the man. And just everything works in this movie, from the set designs, the characters, the kills, the story. Check, check, check. 10 out of 10 in every department. Even the score adds so much to the movie. It's one of my favorite scores of all time, beating out Halloween and all those scores. It really gives you that sense of like a dream or nightmare, which adds to the whole atmosphere. But of course, if I had to give one nitpick to this movie, it would be its ending with the mom getting dragged through the little door hole. It looks silly. You can tell it's a mannequin, but at the same time, it just works for me too. Like, I'm more mixed on it. I don't hate it. Like, I don't even know if I would cut it from the movie myself. It adds mystery to the end. It makes you feel like, oh, did she really win? With the whole convertible turning into Freddy. It gives you questions. I know they were just setting up for a sequel, but it does, I find, feel creepy and it gets under my skin. And I'll just end by saying Robert Englund is the man. He made this character what it is today, and this is where it started. He's great even in the first movie. And as the movies went on, of course, he just made the character even more his own, and he completely owns it. And I gotta give him props for everything he did for this franchise. And this movie right here, the original, easily comes in the first place for me. So there you have it, guys. There's my ranking of all 9 Nightmare on Elm Street movies. I'd love to hear yours down in the comment section. Tell me your favorite, your least favorite, or give me your entire ranking. I'd love to discuss that with you. You can also go ahead and check out my Letterboxd account. I have links to all those in the description, guys. Make sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel if you like videos like this, and until next time, thanks for watching.